everybody, it's me, Zach. This is Potato, and welcome back to our channel. Hey everybody, it's me, Zach, and we are back today to discuss everybody's favorite TV show, the critically acclaimed, soon to be Emmy nominated, I'm sure one day, eventually, hopefully, cross your motherfucking fingers, the 1,000-Pound Sisters, starring Amy and Tammy Slaton and their collective family of shenanigans, okay? And I have to be honest with you, this week's episode is relatively feel good. I think, like, we've had a lot of, like, high-stakes episodes of, like, drama, fighting, mental breakdowns, and things like that, and, like, I don't know, there's a little bit of mental breakdown in this episode. Like, Amy is clearly on the verge of just cracking at any moment. But she's kind of been that way all season. And this episode, she seems to be a little less like that. I don't know, she definitely is. Like, the previews for next week show she's really gonna crack. So, I don't know. I just feel like we were spared a little bit of that. And it just seemed like, for the most part, everybody was just having a good time and they were on vacation and seemed to be enjoying things. Speaking of Amy, though, I will say as an update, she did comment on my last 1,000-Pound Sisters recap, and she noted that she really was sick at the Zumba little workout situation that the last episode ended on. She said that she had food poisoning and she really wasn't feeling well while she was there. And it's important to bring that up because this episode starts off with Amy talking to Chris about the Zumba situation type of deal. And she lets him know that she's actually genuinely upset because she really was sick. Now, the show doesn't say what was going on. I don't know why the show wouldn't let her talk about how she actually did have food poisoning. It seems a little like, I don't know, like they're trying to tell this narrative. I think that's really, you're gonna get a lot of like how Zach truly feels about reality TV because I love reality TV, but I also can't watch anything, any genre or any part of the genre, whether it's Housewives, Survivor, Big Brother, Love is Blind. I just started watching season 4 of Love is Blind. Woo! What a crazy season. But any of those shows, any reality TV show, to some extent is editing what is happening on our TV screens in a way to tell a story that they want to tell. So I feel like had they actually included the facts of Amy having food poisoning that day, then it would make her look a little less unreasonable, right? They want to paint this narrative that like Amy's being super unreasonable in all these situations where she's getting upset. So just keep some of those things in mind. I mean, we're gonna still react to the television show as it happened. We're still going to react to what happened there. But, you know, if Amy gives us little bits and pieces of stuff that happened off screen that they didn't show, we'll also talk about that. We'll talk about it all. We'll mention it all. But yeah, she's there to talk to Chris. I just gotta say, Chris pulls up a nice little cozy seat for them to sit on.
Look, I'm gonna throw this down since it's here. I'm sitting on this. It's easier than the concrete. On my buttocks.
And honestly, this was kind of making me think a little bit too much about where I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Illinois. Because, like, why was that mattress on that porch? And why are we sitting on it and filming something for this silly TV show? You know? But in general, Chris is just reiterating to her that the family is just concerned about her. I think they can all see that she's really going through it. I think that's gonna be the theme probably for the whole rest of the season, is the family being concerned about Amy and her well-being. And Amy, in general, is just ready to move on after talking to Chris. She just wants to be able to go on this upcoming vacation to Florida without being stressed, which, spoiler alert, doesn't happen, but she's ready to move on. And honestly, I think she probably could have, benefited from having a conversation with her sisters, because Chris wasn't even really the one that she seemed the most upset with. I think she was most upset with Amanda and Tammy, because they were the ones that were kind of like yelling and bitching at her. Bitching being her word. I don't actually usually use that language to describe like anybody yelling, but that's what Amy said. So the next scene is a return to the nail salon that I think Amy and Tammy went to probably in like the first season. I mean, it was definitely pre-surgery for Amy and obviously pre-surgery for Tammy. And I really appreciate that this season they seem to be prioritizing showing Tammy doing things that she couldn't do in previous seasons of this television show.
When you have lost enough weight that you can actually get up here, I want you to come back and it will be my treat.
Free?
Yes, it will be my treat for you.
Aww.
Deal?
Deal.
But I do have to be honest, I forgot all about this woman at the nail salon promising Tammy that if she came back and could walk up the steps to the normal like seat that they do pedicures in, that she would treat her to a pedicure on the house. And honestly, I think it's because, I mean, for so many years, I was just convinced that Tammy wasn't really gonna make any progress or change. Not to hate on my girl Tammy, y'all know I'm the world's #1 Tammy apologist over here on the Zachary Michael channel. But I just really felt like, you know, she wasn't gonna do it. I mean, that happened so many years ago at this point that why would I have remembered that promise? I'm glad somebody at TLC remembered that woman promised that to her and that she has now returned and cashed in on her free pedicure. One thing I will say though is that I feel like these days people are talking about how Amy hasn't lost any weight, and maybe she hasn't lost any more weight, but like seeing them do the flashbacks to all these times where Tammy is struggling to do something and now she's being able to do it, there is a huge difference in what Amy used to look like and what she looks like today. Like, she might not be making additional progress, but it's clear that she hasn't gone backwards by any means. We also find out at this point in the episode, but also later in the episode as well, that Tammy hasn't been using her oxygen as much and is like able to go extended amounts of time where she doesn't need the oxygen to help her, which is also like great progress for her as well. And because both this television show and my channel are what they are, I can't not include Amy making this fart noise.
Just Gucci. I'm too short.
Oh, look at your feet.
I might need extra soap.
And then we of course have to talk about Amy's dirty feet too. Like, why are they talking about her feet and shaving it and it being like like Parmesan cheese?
Black Parmesan coming up.
Oh.
You want some black Parmesan pizza?
Like truffle Parmesan?
My feet are truffle.
I just feel the ick coming on because, y'all, listen, today I had a little cauliflower crust pizza for lunch, okay? And so all I can think about is that. I'm like, look, Garrett, look. But in general, I have to say this part of the episode is a foot lover's delight. They show so much of her feet. And you know, you're probably thinking, even for somebody with a foot fetish, it's probably not Amy's feet, but I promise you, there are people out there. There are people out there that are thrilled. If Amy Slayton isn't already on Wiki Feet, she's about to be, because this whole episode was just showcasing her little toes and feet. The next scene is pretty short and sweet. Caleb sends Tammy a care package and they FaceTime about it. And y'all, what is with him sending her all these like things to make her smell good?
The care package Caleb sent me has some body wash and some air fresheners.
Dang, I really stink that bad.
He really said, you're a stinky, stinky girl. You are so stinky. I feel like he probably included things that were also not stinky. And again, TLC is just editing it to make it seem like Tammy's really stinky, but here we are. We also find out that, surprise, Caleb hasn't weighed in. It doesn't seem like Caleb's really done anything to make progress towards surgery or getting out of the rehab facility. And Tammy is just kind of sad because, you know, she talked about how they had discussed this trip to Pensacola, Florida being like a honeymoon for them, and he's just not doing a whole lot of anything. So then we get a couple of quick scenes of them doing vacation prep stuff, including Amy, Chris, and Tammy going to get spray tans. And this show is so educational, y'all. I'm so glad I watched this. I learned so much every week, including a little lesson from Chris this week on how spray tans are hard and difficult when you got belly rolls.
Getting an even coat in the wrinkles of the excess skin is a challenge because, like, my belly roll would clamp together, so a big part of my belly was white.
We also see the girls go swimsuit shopping, but to be quite honest, there was nothing all that interesting about it for me. So after that, the family packs up and heads to Pensacola, Florida. Now, everybody in the family, sans Amy and her kids and Amanda's son, are flying. Brittany and Tammy, I believe, are flying for the very first time, but it doesn't sound like the rest of the family is all that big of flyers either, and everybody seems to be a little bit on edge and scared of flying. And honestly, lately, y'all, with all these reports of like doors flying off of airplanes and shit like that, like, I don't know if I can blame folks for being a little bit nervous. I mean, I think generally flying is relatively safe, but damn, there's been some weird shit happening in the news with airplanes lately. Tammy also has some wins. I mean, in addition to just taking her first airplane flight in general, she finds out that she doesn't need both of the seats that they paid for, that the airplane seatbelt fits around her. So I think that those are some like non-scale victory wins for her that she's really proud to have accomplished. And in general, she seems like she enjoyed the flight, but I also did really appreciate, they claimed it was like turbulence. I don't know. I think it was just like them taking off. But there's like this one little image or clip of her getting startled that I just think is very meme-worthy. But like I mentioned, Amy did not fly. In the last episode, she talked about how much flying scared her. And she did confirm in my comments as well that she did fly to Georgia back in the day to go see Dr. Proctor, which I had recalled but couldn't quite remember. Was not sure if I was remembering correctly. But yeah, they recruited Amanda's son Justin to drive Amy and the boys all the way down to Pensacola, Florida. They said it was like a 9-hour drive. And Amy talks a lot about how the long ride is taking a toll on her. And if you watch any of my Amber Lynn videos, y'all know how Amber Lynn has a little car blankie. Well, Amy needs a little old car butt pillow.
I'm just exhausted. My butt hurts. I need a butt pillow. I thought vacations were relaxing.
So the family arrives at the vacation home. I will note they don't ever actually show Amy showing up or like arriving. I'm guessing that is probably because they got there too late and maybe like the filming crew had to clock out for the day or something like that. But the family, like the rest of the family, gets there obviously way earlier than Amy and Justin get there. Now, one thing we gotta address, TLC, and I get why we're showing it, but we have had so many moments just in this season where we are nervous about whether Tammy can or cannot get up the steps. And I understand where it comes from because for so long she was afraid to get up steps. She had that whole tantrum in Gatlinburg, Tennessee over the steps. I get it. I got it. But they're out here acting like anytime Tammy comes across the step, we gotta all be so nervous and scared. It's like, girl, she's got it. We got it. And I have to say, like, it's been multiple times this season, but there was like even 2 separate times in this episode. One was back at the nail salon, right, where she had to go up the steps to get into the chair to get the pedicure. And this time was with just these little tiny steps going up into this vacation home.
Well, I might need an apple box for that one.
No, you don't. Come on.
No, it's too high.
It's just as big as that regular step you step up from the curb.
And listen, I'm so proud of her. If I haven't reiterated it enough, I think she's made so much progress. But I think we have moved beyond being nervous about whether or not Tammy could make it up the steps. Because let me also just be clear, the steps at the nail salon, I'm pretty sure were like steeper than the ones at this little vacation home. So like I said, Amy doesn't ever, like they don't actually film Amy showing up to the house, and then the family reconvenes filming the next morning. And the scene the next morning is like Amy comes out onto like a back patio porch area where the family's all sipping their morning coffees or something like that. I don't actually even know if they had coffee, but they were all sitting back there, and Amy walks out and she's like real tired, still groggy looking, and they're like, well, look who finally woke up, which if I sleep in and I'm on vacation and somebody says that to me and we didn't have any urgency to get somewhere, I'm gonna be like, y'all mind your damn business. I'm on vacation. If I want to sleep, I'm gonna sleep. But then come to find out that they were like the ones who allowed her to sleep in because they were worried that she was tired from the night before. So I don't know why they were giving her a hard time about that. But Amy says, oh, well, like, y'all don't know what it's like to have 2 kids, which, if you remember, she just spent 9 hours the day before in a car with her 2 kids, right? Like, she spent a lot of time with them, was very tired. And Amanda's like, okay, you're 2 kids, but like, Tammy woke up this morning and fed Glenn, and then we've been chasing Gage around this house all morning while you've been sleeping. So what do you mean try dealing with 2 kids? We have been. Which I do understand where that comes from, but and I think that that's a fair statement to make. But I think it's unfair for them to be like, you weren't taking care of your kids, we were, when she did just spend the whole day, like 9 hours the day before in a car with them. Like, I'm sure that is very exhausting, you know? It doesn't feel like, I don't know, one thing that we just need to get on the table right now is that I know from watching this show that every single one of these siblings cares a lot about one another, and I know that they often show that way and show that in very interesting ways, you know? But I feel like they're very dismissive of Amy's feelings, and I think the show wants us to side with her siblings, and to some extent I do. I'm not saying I don't, and this is not me being an Amy Slayton apologist, let's just be clear, but I think it's like really missing the point that like she did spend 9 hours in a car with 2 toddlers. Like, that would be very stressful and very exhausting. So that was interesting. And then of course that is just gonna continue. That's basically the whole rest of this recap is the family being upset with Amy. Well, not the entire rest of it, but it's a good chunk of the rest of the narrative of this week's episode. So they pack up to get in the vans, the multiple vans. They got too many people to just take one van. So they get in the multiple vans, and Amy's trying to get both of the boys in the van in their car seats, and Gage is being difficult, and she's getting really worked up and frustrated over it.
I'm hurting, and the boys are not cooperating. It's okay. Hopefully they will calm down. If not, I'm going home. I ain't playing.
And this is more about like how I don't know that the response from her siblings is like super helpful or great. Not that I don't understand where it's coming from, I just don't think it's the best response, because Amanda's like, she needs to understand that little kids are supposed to cry, but she's not. She's an adult. She's the mom. She's not supposed to throw a fit. And I really do get the sense that Amanda, especially in this episode, is reaching her limit with Amy. But I don't know that it's helpful to tell people that they're not supposed to feel feelings, you know? Like, Amy's feelings are genuine. I don't think you can watch the episodes and see her cry and think that she is like putting that on, right? like telling somebody they're just not supposed to cry is not super helpful to people who are experiencing like depression or other mental health issues. Like, it's not super helpful to the person who's crying. With that being said, like, I obviously do think it's okay for Amy to cry. I also think for the sake of the people around her and her relationships with those people, that she clearly is in need of like therapy and help and assistance in ways that her family can't provide. And I think it's fine that her family can't provide those things to her right now in this moment. And as I'll know, or as I have noted in previous recaps, like, Amy has told me that she is now in therapy and that is something that's helping her. So you know, we're talking in the scope of what's happening in the episode, but at least based on what Amy's told me, she is like seeking out help and assistance with these things now. So then the family arrives at the beach, and they got the fucking monster truck of wheelchairs for Tammy to go out on the beach.
Chris got a wheelchair for the beach. I ain't trying to fall on my bug.
And Tammy did have some initial issues with like getting her legs both onto the wheelchair appropriately so that they could push her. But once she got situated and sorted out, I was like, this chair's kind of badass looking. Like Tammy is rolling down the beach looking badass as hell.
Oh, sheesh. Big bump.
Tammy, I am so proud of you because you made it here.
And Tammy's so happy to be at the beach, and I'm so happy that she made it. It seemed like that was a lifelong goal or dream that she'd had for a long time, and I'm happy she could check that off. Actually, the beach parts of this episode were the funniest parts. So there was also this moment where Chris is like, I've got a surprise for Brittany.
I got you something surprised here going on. Here you go, Brittany. I bought it just for you. My surprise for Brittany is some booty-tight, hip-hugging shorts with her face on them. That was too much sexiness to be bringing out there on that beach right then.
And they showed a preview of this, like, you know, at a commercial break, even though I watched this on HBO Max with no commercial breaks. But they showed a preview that was like, he was getting ready to pull down his pants, and I was like, oh my God, Chris is about to come out with a Speedo. It's going to be so scandalous. I was like, this is going to be wild. And then it was just some, like, swimming trunks with Brittany's face on it. And I'm like, is this it? Is this all? Is this all we got? And then I realized, like, oh, my gay ass is just desensitized. Because then Chris was like, oh, I got on my booty-hugging shorts. I got on these real short shorts. And I was like, oh, I'm just so used to seeing gay people wear shorts that short that I was like unfazed. I was like, those look like a normal pair of swim trunks. I probably wear, like, I have a pair of swim trunks that are probably that short on me, and I'm fucking tall. So I'm just like, I was so desensitized because he's like, oh, it's so short and sexy, and I was like, nah, I would have thought maybe a Speedo, but no, it was just a pair of short shorts with old Brittany's face on them. I will say, Chris does promise / maybe threaten to come out in the future with a sexier look once he gets skin removal surgery.
Once I get skin removal, I'm going to go back to the beach in a thong with a great big picture, her picture on the front.
And speaking of editing, I wasn't just talking about editing there, but in general, we talked about editing today of this show and of this episode in particular. And they do include a bit where Amy's talking about everybody staring at them on the beach. And that is a little bit of a trope on the like weight loss shows on TLC. They love to talk about how fat people are stared at and things like that. And before I go further, I do want to say I think that does happen to people who are fat in public. What I will add though to this specific situation is that the show is claiming that people are staring at them, and then all they do is show like clips of people's blurred faces that could be looking anywhere and at anyone. Like they don't ever actually show anybody staring at the family.
It's uncomfortable when people just stare at us and gawk at us. It's like, damn, the hippo's on parade.
And then even if they were, like, let's be honest that at this point, Amy and Tammy specifically are like recognizable reality television celebrities. And on top of that, you got a whole ass camera crew filming them on this beach. On this crowded beach is what it looks like. So like, I imagine that is also part of like why people are staring at them, you know? Like if they are, which I do believe it's possible that they are. Anyways, the family all goes into the water and Tammy stays behind because it's not because she doesn't want to or doesn't want to participate, but she's trying to be reasonable about like risks of falling and things like that. Which does look like it'll come up again next week, so just bookmark that, hold on to it, because it looks like they're going to try to pressure her to get in the water. And then just one more moment of unseriousness, and then the rest of the episode is pretty serious. But one more moment that makes this whole episode worth it, 100%, is Amy's sand turd.
Excuse me.
Hey, look, y'all. I have a sand turd.
Did you have to announce that?
This show is just so unserious. And you know me, a connoisseur of piss and shitting and farting content. Just love the sand turd moment. 10 out of 10. Do recommend. Like, absolutely go watch it again if you haven't watched it. So the rest of the episode takes place at a seafood restaurant that they all go to later that night. And just like any time that Amy's attempted to take her kids to any kind of restaurant on this show this season, the kids are upset. The kids are already pressed, probably because, you know, they did a 9-hour car ride the day before and then spent all day at the beach. So the kids are crying, and then Amy starts crying, and again, I mean, maybe to them, it's a meltdown. A lot of her siblings were calling it Amy's meltdown. Amy is melting down. Amy's melting down. I feel like to some extent that's just like, I don't know, based on what I saw in the episode, maybe mischaracterizing what was going on. But she certainly was crying and certainly wasn't necessarily being helpful and like de-escalating what was happening with her children. And to that extent, like, Amanda, Brittany, Misty, even Tammy a little bit, all try to help with the kids. And then Amy, I think, shares, like, very vulnerably that she's on the verge of having a panic attack. And I think that that's real and raw and honest. And she clearly goes over to Chris to share that information because it seems like she trusts Chris. Like, they literally show her get up from her spot on the table and go move over to Chris to tell him this. And Chris's response to that is to tell her that she needs to quit bawling and, like, do her job as a mom.
And you really need to quit bawling, because you're not a fucking ball bag, so wake up.
Dude,
and
I'm
be your mother.
trying to do as much as I can.
And I will say, I typically really appreciate how direct Chris and Amanda both can be on this show. I think it's been something that a lot of the audience has really appreciated about them as well. But I do think that, like, telling somebody who just told you that they're about to have a panic attack that they need to quit bawling and just do their job as a mom is not really gonna help. like even if that's what you feel and what you think, and maybe what really would be most helpful right now is if Amy, like, sucked it up and just, like, took care of her kids. Like, that's not gonna help de-escalate the situation at all. And then Amanda comes in to grab her keys and her phone, and she's like, I'm gonna leave with Gage. And so Amy's like, well, I guess I gotta go with Glenn too. Like, let's go, Glenn, let's leave. I don't know, there's just this, like, pressure on Amy to be this, like, perfect mother of a person, and I think to some extent I understand where they're coming from, and on the other hand, I'm like, this isn't fair to Amy. At one point, Chris is even calling, like, Amy's behavior having a pity party.
Amy's trying to play this pity party, but Amy needs to stand up and find her rhythm and do what she's got to do.
And again, I think in general, the family is just at their wits' end, but I just, like, as a person who's had, like, mental health challenges and problems, and having worked with people who have mental health challenges and problems, like, I don't know anybody who's gonna respond well to being told that they're, like, throwing a pity party, that they just need to stop crying. It feels, like, very dismissive of what she's going through, even though I will say, like, they do acknowledge, like, we understand she's going through a lot right now. And on the same hand, they're sitting there calling it a pity party, you know? So I'm just like, I don't think this is super helpful to her. And maybe it's possible I'm being too empathetic towards her, and maybe I would feel differently if I was in the shoes of her siblings. But I don't know, it just, like, wasn't, it just was hitting me in the wrong way for some reason today when I was sitting down and watching the episode. I don't know. Maybe y'all will agree, maybe y'all will disagree. I mean, I think in general it's clear that they're all feeling very pressed by Amy's situation, and I think in a lot of ways that's all understandable. I think the thing that I'm responding negatively is how they're expressing that with her, because I just don't think that it's super helpful. And on top of all that, like I said earlier in this video, it looks like shit's really gonna pop off next week in the next week's episode, so I guess just stay tuned. Like, there's a lot of yelling, particularly from Amy, and I just do really think that she's in a real bad place while they were filming this season. Like, she does not seem well, and I think that's where my empathy comes from, because we have seen Amy demonstrate, like, care and compassion for her siblings in other seasons, And I like to try to keep that in mind, you know? I like to try to keep that in mind, especially given, you know, the context of her divorce and all of that. I don't know. You can call me an Amy Slayton apologist in the comments if you need to. I'll understand. And I'm not saying that I think her siblings are in the wrong for feeling frustrated. I just wish that they would use a little bit more compassion or care. But I'm sure they're also just in a place where, like, they don't know what else to do. Because I think we have seen them try to be nice about it, too, previously. And I think it's just, like, all coming to a boiling point. Anyways, that's all I have for today. That's it. That's all. So thanks so much for joining me. I'm thrilled to hear what your thoughts are down below. So make sure to leave me comments. And if you're brand new to my channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notifications. I also have a 1,000 Pound Sisters playlist if you want to check that out. It includes content from before the girls even had their TLC show, believe it or not. Also, leave me a comment, hit like, click share, and follow me on all my social media. I love y'all so much, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!